ソト選手が契約を終え、入団会見を開いたことで改めて公式番組から様々な見解が出ています。名物ご意見番のコメンテーターも今回の契約権利や流れに関して大仏強めの意見が出ていました。今回は公式番組を翻訳してお届けいたします。
Doggy, good morning. We have not spoken to you since this hit the news cycle. Amazing that he picked the Mets because they gave his family better parking spots. Incredible. Had nothing to do with the 765.
Yeah, or the suite. Don't forget at Citi Field, the Yankees make you pay for it. The Mets don't. I'm a little surprised. How nice to be with you. I'm a little surprised, Matty, that he left the Yankees. I know he didn't have the homegrown feel as Judge did a couple years ago, so maybe he didn't have the tie with the franchise that sort of Aaron did, but I'm still surprised. The Yankees are, listen, I know the Met fan don't want to hear this. And good for Steve Cohen with the money, but, I mean, you can't compare any of the brand with the Yankees. He's got Judge hitting behind him, the ballpark, right field, the bleachers. The American League is much easier than the National League. Mets got the Dodgers, the Braves, the Phillies. Don't tell me that the Mets have a better future than the Yankees do. I don't buy that. That's a bunch of nonsense. I mean, that Hal's not going to spend money? He brought in Fried. Yankees have better pitching. I'm actually a little surprised. Now, listen, maybe he wanted to stay free agency. Be romanced, but listen, I'm not going to sit there. He's a great hitter. Now, he's a terrible right fielder. He's not a good base runner, but he's Ted Williams at the plate. So he's got 15 years and he'll be good, but he's going to be a DH in 5 or 6 years. But I'm overly a little surprised that he left New York, the Yanks.
Let me flip this a little bit. Now you're the owner. You're Steve Cohen. You grew up in New York. It's Yankees, Yankees, Yankees. At one point, dog, you know this, the Mets dominated in the 80s.
They sure did.
It was New York was the Mets town. With one signing, he's put them on the headline. He's turned this whole conversation upside down. That's why he goes there. You like that? Do you agree with that?
Certainly, somewhat. I went to go look as far as fan base is concerned. In 23, both franchises coming off big years. Judge hit 62 homers the year before, and Mets won 101 games. So a year and a half ago, they both were bad. Mets won 75 games. The Yankees were 82 and 80. Both were bad. Not factors the second half, the last 2 months of the season. The Yankees drew 3.2 million, and the Mets drew 2.5 million. So it's still a Yankee town, and the Yankees are a global team.
But did you have anybody to go watch play with the Mets?
Well, you had Lindor, didn't you?
Yeah, but Lindor wasn't hitting.
He's not
40
Judge.
homers.
He's not Judge. I grant you that. He's not Judge. Listen, I'm just a little surprised that he left the Yankees. I mean, and you're right, Harold, 100%. Between 84, the only time it's ever happened, and I've been here my whole life, between 84 and 89, this was a Met town. 84, they had Gooden and Strawberry. 85, they lost to St. Louis late. 86, they won it. 87, they were in a pennant race. 88, they lost to L.A. in the NLCS. And the Yankees were not great. And they were sick of Steinbrenner and everything else. That 5-year period, this was a Mets town in New York. Outside of that, for 62 years, it hasn't been. And I'm a little surprised that Soto left that environment to come for the Mets. And remember, the Met pitching staff is not that great. Last year they did they did mirrors with obviously Minaya and Severino and Quintana. This year they're going to try to do the same thing with Holmes, with Montas. Let me see them pull that off again. That's not going to be that easy. So overall, I'm just a little surprised. Remember one other thing. He doesn't want anybody to know this. I live where he works. You know how many people have told me that have worked with Steve Cohen for 40 years saying that he grew up a huge Yankee fan? He hated the Mets forever. He was a Yankee fan growing up. And now he turns around and hurts the Yankees by taking Soto away. Listen, he'd be great. He's a tremendous hitter. I just still think this is more a Yankee town when they win than a Met town.
All right, so let me get to the big headline of it all, though. A record for sports at 765. When you heard that number, what was your thought? Especially being the record for any athlete.
You know, Harold, first off, he knew it was going to happen anyway. The agent's too good. Who cares? You think the guy walking down the street cares that somehow, some way? Nobody cared about Garnett. Everybody made a big deal about A-Rod for a minute or two when he got signed at $252. In the big picture, the fans are so inundated with prices and money and what everybody makes in all the sports. I don't think anybody is that wrapped up in it after the initial shock. Wow, he got $765. All right, he got $765. Is anybody that surprised? I'm not that surprised. I mean, do I think it's a good contract from a baseball perspective? Probably not. Do I think the owners and the Pirates and the Reds in Minnesota calling Manfred and moaning and groaning, Rob, really? He signed a $765 million. How are we supposed to compete? Yeah, probably. I think they probably did, those owners. But in the big picture, you think the fan really cares? That somehow, we know all about the money. This has been going on for 30 years now. All right, he made $765. Watch the college football playoff, watch the NFL playoffs, and once the baseball starts, we'll be into it. And we realize now when we go to Shea City Field, you know, to get tickets and to park the car and have a lemonade and a hot dog, it's going to cost you $800 for a ball game in September or in August on a Saturday afternoon. We'll live with it. We'll live with it. That's what it is. The price of the game.
Look, history.
Did I wake you up?
History is littered with these things, right? Because Sunday is the 44-year anniversary of Dave Winfield becoming the highest paid player in Major League Baseball history.
Wow, good job.
10 years, $15 million. 44 years ago Sunday. And here we are with Soto at 765. Wow. So now that the biggest bat is off the board, Doggy, let's get to the biggest arm. Max Fried signs with the Yankees. I think everybody knows that that's a really nice fit and a good signing for New York. What about Corbin Burnes? If you were to identify one team that needs him the most, it would be which team?
Well, I had Danny O'Dowd, our pal, on radio the other day, Matt, and he thought the Giants. Went to St. Mary's. Giants need to replace Blake Snell. It's a good 1-2 punch with, obviously, Webb. Ballpark's good to pitch in. I know the Blue Jays, I guess they're in. But I would say the Giants for Burnes. I know it's funny. Think of these two franchises right now, Toronto and Houston. Toronto's got to worry about Guerrero and Bichette. Nobody wants to take their money. And Houston, Bregman's not going to stay there. And obviously, now they want to trade Tucker. These two franchises, because they don't want to pay him after next year, these two franchises are sort of teetering of what they want to do. Big markets, they win a lot. But, you know, the Blue Jays are a mess. I mean, again, nobody wants to take any of their money. And obviously, Houston, you know, Crane doesn't want to pay these $500 million contracts, and a guy like Tucker might get that. Those two franchises we got to keep an eye on here in the next couple of months. But in the big, and we'll see if Toronto does sign Burnes. But I think at the end of the day, he'll probably sign with the Giants.
I like that idea. Yeah, you could make a case for a lot of teams. Giants might be the team with the biggest need. Reunite him with Willie Adames, a couple of Brewers expats on the West Coast.
Good point.
Doggy,
good
we
point.
Appreciate you every Friday, man. Christopher Mad Dog Russo with us every Friday on the stove. Have a great weekend, bud. Best of luck with your bets.
Let's dig a little deeper here on this historic contract. Normally, we look at the player and the production, but the Juan Soto deal is the biggest contract in the history of North American sports. What are the financial ramifications of this all-time deal? Let's do a little digging in. In Major League Baseball, you need top-end talent to win, but you also need to have a strong roster top to bottom. It's a team sport. There must be balance. With a 26-man big league roster, there is a limit to what you can pay one person. So let's start with this. Let's look at the leaders in salary payroll as it pertains to the competitive balance tax. The massive deferrals on the Dodgers' Shohei Ohtani contract force us to look at it this way. And this is important. This is the game the GM must play. The competitive balance tax is the number they must be aware of. And the Soto deal is the biggest hit to any one team's particular payroll. Soto's AAV, average annual value, is $51 million. Shohei Ohtani's deal is counted at $46 million per year. Then it's Zach Wheeler, $42 million for the Phillies. Then Aaron Judge, $40 million. Jacob deGrom, $37 million as a salary. $51 million is a big number. It's number one. Next question. Is it too big? On MLB Now, we ask these questions all the time. We started to ask it with Mike Trout, Mookie Betts. Then when Bryce Harper and Manny Machado hit the market, we also asked that question. With our research team, we came up with this. A ball club can still have a healthy, full roster while spending 14 to 17% of its payroll on one player. Anything above that, you are courting an imbalance. But 14 to 17% seem to be the industry standard. And lo and behold, with a payroll of $300 million, guess what it is? 17% of $300 million? $51 million. That's likely what the Mets have in mind. Soto's $51 million is 17% of a $300 million payroll. The Mets had an opening day payroll of $330 million 2 years ago, kept it right around there last season. Right now, they're on the books for about $235 million for next season. We can expect that number to jump. I figure it still will be around $300 million by opening day. Now realize, only 2 clubs have ever hit the $300 million level. That's real money, Dan. The Mets and the Yankees. They're the two. The Dodgers flirt with it, but they've yet to get there. They defer a lot of that money. 300's a big number with a heavy luxury tax. The Cardinals, for example, 12th in payroll, about $180 million last year. 17% of their payroll would be about $30 million. That's the most that they should spend, and about what they did spend on Nolan Arenado, their highest paid player, by the way. So the key to carrying that big Soto contract will be the Mets' ability to stomach a large luxury tax payment each year. I won't bore you with the details, but I'll say this. For everyone that thinks the luxury tax won't bother this particular owner, I would point out, just 2 years ago when the Mets weren't winning, the luxury tax bothered Steve Cohen quite a bit. It would bother anyone. The other part of this deal is that it's not just the highest hit on a club payroll, it's also the longest deal in the history of baseball contracts. They'll be paying Soto from age 26 to age 40. It's a fascinating deal, and just like Soto's all-around game, there's a lot to like and there's a lot to not like. The World Series should still be fresh in your mind, right? So remember who Soto was in that series, even when he was just 25 years old. He has fantastic at-bats, plate discipline, pitch recognition, contact, power. He also is ready, but also he's below league average defensively in the corner outfield. Below league average on the bases as a base runner. Those things count, and that's happening right now in his prime. The gap between his hitting and the all-around game will increase as he ages. Doesn't mean he won't be worth it, but it will be a lot of money allocated for a DH who doesn't pitch. And that's how I see it.
Lauren Shahadi with you in Studio K with this breaking news on a Friday. Devin Williams has been traded to the New York Yankees. New York acquiring the right-hander from the Brewers, according to multiple reports. Jeff Passan reported this, 20 minutes ago, that they were finalizing a deal, and then he follows up with the package. Caleb Durbin, Nestor Cortez going the other way to Milwaukee. Caleb Durbin won Breakout Prospect of the Year in the Arizona Fall League. He had a chance to break the Yankees' major league roster this year, 25 years old, played in AAA a year ago, and Devin Williams, the headliner, of course, an All-Star in 2022 and 2023, was NL Rookie of the Year in 2020, and is a 2-time NL Reliever of the Year. JP Morosi joins us now with more on this deal. JP, hello to you. I see that smile. You love a deal on a Friday afternoon. Good afternoon to you. How'd this deal get done?
Lauren, good afternoon. This is major news following up on the winter meetings, and it really is, Lauren, directly linked to what happened at the winter meetings in this sense. When the Yankees signed Max Fried, it gave them a depth of starting pitchers from which to trade. There was the possibility of trading one of those starters for Kyle Tucker, for Cody Bellinger, but instead they flipped Cortez to Milwaukee and address a need at the end of the game, which, remember, because of Clay Holmes now being a Met, the Yankees had to fill in one of their key leverage spots late in the game. And so now you consider Devin Williams pairing up with Luke Weaver. How about that? Tandem, that combination of a couple elite changeups, both at the end of the game. And then, of course, Cortez will go and help the Brewers' rotation. That's why this makes sense for them. They, of course, and you consider the way that their starting depth has gone, it was basically a year ago that they had to trade Corbin Burnes to Baltimore. Cortez is now on an expiring contract, so both Devin Williams and Cortez will become free agents at the same time, roughly the same time. And now you also address with the Brewers an issue of their infield depth now that Willy Adames is signed with San Francisco. We talk about Caleb Durbin, the great native of Lake Forest, Illinois, and notably a proud Division III baseball alum, Washington University in St. Louis. He is a true scholar athlete, and he is very fleet of foot. He was averaging better than one stolen base per game.
Tell me you Googled that.
Base per game.
Tell me you Googled it and didn't know it off the top of your head, please.
Lauren, this is, I love my scholar athletes. He is one of them from the great WashU in St. Louis.
JP, is Devin a rental or is this a rent-to-buy situation with 1 year left?
Excellent question. I do think that Williams' representation and perhaps Williams himself will welcome the move to a place that has the capability of signing him long term. And at least that possibility now exists in a way that certainly we saw the Yankees trade for Juan Soto. And I believe, Lauren, if my information is correct, Soto did not sign back with the Yankees. I think I've got that right, that he signed somewhere else. But with Devin Williams, perhaps after having to go to arbitration year over year, there is now the opportunity for him to sign long term. Look at that whip, .97. And I think, Lauren, it has to be said, and I love the change of scenery and the chance to write a different story. These two pitchers in this trade gave up the two most famous home runs of the 2024 postseason, a change of scenery, a chance to write a new beginning for both Cortez in Milwaukee and Devin Williams.
Beautiful poetry. Would we be talking about this, JP, if Juan Soto was a Yankee? Yes or no?
That's a great question. I think it's still possible. It's still possible that we'd still be talking about this because the need at the back end of the bullpen was real. Here's what the bullpen looks like, and notably, Clay Holmes' name is not in this list right now, nor is Tommy Kahnle. So perhaps the need for a really good right on right or right on left, which is what Devin Williams is the reason why. So I'm going to say even if Juan Soto was a Yankee, this trade very easily could have happened.
What's next for New York on their wish list?
I still think they want to get a left-handed athletic bat, and that's where Cody Bellinger is still a possibility. Kyle Tucker is still a possibility. Lauren, we are not done with significant trades between now and Monday morning's hot stove.
I like that. Between Bellinger, Tucker, and Christian Walker, who's most likely, I'm putting you on the spot, to be a New York Yankee at opening day?
Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger's most likely because I think that the asking price will be most reasonable. And while the Yankees have now parted with two players here, they still have enough depth, Lauren, to make a Cody Bellinger trade.
You like this deal for both sides, yes?
I do. I think it was the kind of deal the Brewers have made in the past, they have to make. And they still traded Corbin Burnes last winter, and they made it to the postseason anyway, Lauren.
Devin Williams to the New York Yankees for Caleb Durbin and Nestor Cortez. Breaking news on MLB Network on this Friday. Thanks for joining us.
ストーブリーグも外選手の契約が会見で一段落迎えましたね。さて、日本人選手の FA 情報もそろそろ出てくるとは思いますが、どうなんでしょうかね。今のところ佐々木朗希選手の話だけが話題には上がっていますが、菅野投手の状況等も気になりますよね。それでは次回の動画でお会いしましょう。さようなら。